Well, hello and welcome to the Informed Traveler Podcast, a weekly travel podcast where our goal is to help you become a more informed traveler. And I'm your host, Randy Sharman. On our show this week, we're going to discuss luxury travel upgrades. My co-host, Travel Expert Onanta Forbes, wrote about them on her website, onantaforbes.com, which ones are worth it and which ones you might want to skip. So Onanta will join me in a few seconds to discuss those. Plus, have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes serving all those meals when you take a cruise? We'll get some insight from the Vice President of Food and Beverage and Hotel Operations for Scenic Ocean Cruises later on in the podcast. But first, let's kick things off chatting with travel expert Onanta Forbes, who joins us each week to discuss some of the travel news and travel trends. You can follow her adventures on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Onanta Forbes. OnantaForbes.com is her website. I was checking on your website, OnantaForbes.com, and you have a lot of interesting pieces on there, but one that we're going to talk about, luxury travel upgrades. You do have some ones listed on there, ones that you should use and ones that you can skip. So I like that idea. But before we get to the ones you can use and skip, just give me some general thoughts about it.
Right. So, it's just like going to McDonald's, like they always want to upgrade you. You want fries. So it's in every part of our life. And luxury travel is actually one of the most growing components in the travel industry. And people want that personalization. They want to know that, that they can get perks when they travel, because travel is not always easy. So if you can make it simple and if you can get some some time and basically enjoy your journey, I think that's important. And the world is full of tempting upgrades, but they're not all worth it. And so the best ones improve your comfort, save time, and protect your investment. So some of the ones I think that you should consider if you have the resources is, when you're going on a long haul flight, perhaps don't go in economy, maybe premium economy or even business class. So more space, better sleep, a quieter cabin, and it's well worth it on flights over 7 to 8 hours. And so you could do that in different ways. Like one of the ways I do it is I bid on it. I bid on my upgrades. And when you do that, you kind of have to, it's a guessing game, because you don't know what other people are bidding, but you also don't want to overbid what the selling price is, right? Because if that was the case, you would have just bought it. So I would consider that, but definitely for long flight, arriving in better shape really is something that you will achieve when you're in a pod and you're laying flat and you can get some shut-eye, and the meals are a little bit well prepared and served as well. So that's just an idea.
Very true. And, when you consider, and again, if you have the resources to do that, like you mentioned, but I'd be interested to know that how you do the bidding. And there's websites you can do this with, or if I call my friendly neighborhood travel agent, can they do that for you?
Well, I've been learning in my quest of different things is that it's actually a third party that the airlines engage, that they do it. So you can't just phone up the airline and say, I want to bid on this. It's actually, you have to do it online, and then it's assessed by a third party. As a travel agent, we really shouldn't be doing it for you, because it's, your money is your money. So you don't want to go wild and just bid arbitrarily. And the reality is there's a lot of components that you may want to consider. Okay. Some people, too, may have with their airline of choice e-upgrades or e-certificates that they can apply to get that upgrade as well. So it's not just always putting up more money. And then once it's submitted, and if you continue with it, you don't cancel it, if it's accepted, it's accepted. You can't back out of it, and it's non-refundable.
Oh, okay. So there's some caveats to know, but good to know. And I do agree with you. The short haul, when you say skip short haul business class, like if it's an hour flight or 2 hour flight, like don't be wasting your money on a business class ticket, right?
No, unless it's a cheapo, like unbelievably low price. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. Because I have to say, even though I say skip short haul business class, I have done it. And the reason I've done it is because I am over my baggage allowance and I need, and then I compare what it costs for extra baggage or overweight baggage compared to the upgrade for business class. So I have done that. So just so fair, just so you know, I break my own rules.
That's what rules are for, to be broken. Okay, what else can we? What else is
Uh,
worth it, and what can we skip?
so airport lounge access during delays. So when travel goes wrong, lounges offer some, some calm, some comfort, some Wi-Fi, and some food, making delays far more manageable. And again, through your credit card or perhaps that you already get that included, like in some of the lounges, like premium lounges with American Express.
Hmm.
That's part of your membership fee. So I would take advantage of it. I do have to say, lounges are becoming mass market. So
I was going to say
sometimes
that too.
it's not a perk to go into a lounge that is crammed to the rafters.
Hmm.
The food is not attractive to partake in. So I would consider the lounge. Air Canada's Maple Leaf lounges are nice, but
Hmm.
then you also have to consider some cities. They don't have a full Air Canada Maple Leaf lounge. They have cafes. That you are considered lounges. So yeah, you really do have to look at it and see if it's worth it. But during a delay, it's good.
Hmm.
But also consider if you're in a lounge, some lounges limit the amount of time you spend in it. So 3 hours might be the max. So keep that in mind.
Good to know.
Um, the other thing I would definitely consider, and we talk about it with all travel, but for high value trips, like for expensive or complex itineraries, insurance protects you from losing thousands of dollars in non-refundable bookings, missed connections, trip interruption. So always consider it a worthy. It's not even an upgrade. I would just say it would be part of your travel purchase. So consider those as well.
Hmm.
Um, for cruise cabin location, midship is a very attractive location. It reduces motion, higher decks improve access, and smart placement means better sleep and convenience. So the cruise lines are definitely involved in bidding on upgrades. I just had guests that are going on an Oceania Med cruise. They were leaving today, and they said that they bid $10 over the base lead-in, and they got it.
Really?
Yes. So again, you never know with bidding because you don't know what other people are bidding. You don't know how
Hmm.
many people are bidding, right?
Hmm.
So, and I said, and I share with them, I go, it doesn't hurt to ask because, if it's no, it's no. There's no
Yeah.
expectation, right?
Yeah. And if it's
Yes.
yes, wow, for $10 more?
Yeah, they were so excited. So excited. Yeah. So yeah, take advantage of those. Um,
Yeah.
Early check-in, late check-out. So extra hours in your hotel means real rest and more usable travel time,
Hmm.
especially on long short stays. And I know again, if you are a partner of a resort or a hotel chain, sometimes that's included in your membership, and I think
Hmm.
it's worthy, really good.
Hmm.
And then seat selection, maybe not an upgrade, but something. A small fee is worthy of avoiding a middle seat or securing space that can dramatically improve the flight experience.
Hmm.
So I would consider that something of an upgrade to consider. Um, some things that you may want to skip, like priority boarding, and that's all you get is priority boarding. So
Yeah. I've
boarding,
seen that where it's
yeah,
like, oh, you get priority boarding. And it's not really priority boarding.
no, and boarding early often just means sitting longer. So unless
True.
it includes real perks, think about, well, what does it give you at the end of the day?
Hmm.
Um, and then hotel breakfast packages, they're usually overpriced. So
Hmm.
local cafes, making sure you're in an environment that's safe, that, you probably can get a better price, and they're probably more, what's the word?
Food options
Yes,
is what
that
I
is
was going
the
to say, because sometimes it's a limited menu too.
Absolutely, yes. So, when we were in Paris, we were near the Eiffel Tower. I would just pop down, go to a cafe, pick up a couple of hot chocolates and coffee and
Hmm.
croissants, and that's perfect for a
Yeah.
start of a day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of those actually. And I was gonna sort of mention like when you are booking, you mentioned like the seat selection and things like that. It's good to be aware of what you're getting with your status as far as like, I'm going to refer to basic economy now. Like basic economy, you're paying for your seat, you're paying for your luggage, and you're not allowed to bring on a carry-on. So you got to be aware of all those things.
Hmm.
And so you probably do want to upgrade if you want to, actually have a carry-on for one, and you want to have seat selection included because sometimes the price difference, like sometimes you're looking at, depending on the seat, $100 per seat.
Yes. Yeah, it adds up, like especially when you may be involved in two different airlines
Hmm.
and you have to pay like it's not all the way through and so on. So yeah, it does add up.
When does luxury travel become luxury travel, though? Like if you're starting at basic economy and I just warned of the caveats of basic economy, what you're not getting, and if you're aware of it, fine, that's good.
Hmm.
But when does it start to become luxury travel? Because it seems to me a lot of stuff, it's like they're nice perks, but is it really
Hmm.
luxury? Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? I guess I'm looking for just for a definition.
Right. So for me, luxury travel is, it's seamless. It's like I create or curate something that fits what the traveler is looking for. It's giving them that opportunity not to be part of the masses, I guess.
Hmm.
Really, at the end of the day, it's more personalized. It's more about your experience versus being herded along.
I would add one more to your list here, and that's private transfers because I do that from now on the destination that I'm arriving at.
Hmm.
Because the last thing you want, especially if you've been on a long flight, like you've been flying all day, sometimes you're doing a connection, and airports are busy, they're chaotic, and so you want someone who's there to look after all the things that you may not be aware of, like traffic, for example, and all, and even just even finding anything like an Uber or a taxi or something.
Yes.
They're there, they pick you up, they have preferred parking spots, and they're doing all the navigating, and you just relax, and you're like in a luxury vehicle, and the cost really isn't that much.
No, and what I like about that is and I experienced it in my recent trips. They are actually contacting you to say who they are, where to
Mm-hmm.
meet. They're giving
Mm-hmm.
you pictures of, to look and opportunities to be in contact with you in case there is a situation where your plane's delayed, or maybe you go to the wrong terminal, or
Yeah.
whatever the case
It
may
just
be.
takes like peace of mind and what do you call it? A smooth,
A
um,
seamless travel.
seamless travel. It just
Yeah.
and to me that's the best way to start.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, too, it's high touch. So, like, you don't have to touch it. People know what you are asking for or what you have booked, and
Mm.
they're taking it. They're
Hmm.
taking it for you, and it's the opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's basically I know luxury travel is it's a word that could be used in so many different destinations,
Hmm.
but I think it's a more emotional reward to what you're doing because then you're not doing anything. You're just like, this is what I want to do, and it's done. It's like
Yeah.
design. The services are designed for you.
Hmm. Good
Yes.
stuff. People can read about luxury travel upgrades on your website, onantaforbes.com, along with all kinds of other posts and blogs and good information. And they can follow you on Instagram, Facebook, and X as well at Onanta Forbes. Good chatting with you, Onanta. Good tips. Thank you.
Happy Easter, everybody.
This is the Informed Traveler Podcast. I'm Randy Sharman. Just want to remind you of our website, theinformedtraveler.org. That's where you can find our contact page if you have any questions or comments about the podcast. You can also email me too with any questions you might have. My email address is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. You can check out our social media pages too at facebook.com/informedtraveler, Instagram @informedtraveler, or on X @informedtraveler. That's where you'll find a number of videos and reels from our adventures throughout the year and audio clips from our past shows. Plus, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. It's released at the beginning of every month. Our April issue is now available. Just go to our website, theinformedtraveler.org, click on the newsletter button, and it'll take you right there. Or better yet, you can subscribe to it and have it arrive in your inbox each month. Well, have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes serving all of those meals when you take a cruise? Simply put, a lot. So joining us now to give us some insight on what goes on in the galleys of those cruise ships is Tom Gerter. He is the Vice President of Food and Beverage and Hotel Operations for Scenic Ocean Cruises. Scenic.ca is the website. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you, or nice to be with you, I would say.
Well, thanks for doing this. I come from a cruising background. I kind of have an idea what the food and beverage manager does on board a ship. But tell us just your role with Scenic Cruises and the role, more importantly, of the food and beverage manager on board.
Well, my role now is actually for the entire hotel department, and it's not really an onboard position anymore. So basically, I'm leading as the vice president for hotel operations, the entire hotel part, if you want to say so, of the vessels, which is traditionally a job more on land based than anywhere else. However, I'm kind of refusing to that. So we're trying to be anyway different. So I would say I spend about 6 to 7 months a year on the ships, jumping from ship to ship and inspiring the crew, trying new things. Mainly, I'm chasing for new ideas and fresh ideas, something might not seen on the ocean. And yeah, as a chef as background and started as executive chef for Scenic, I obviously spent a huge amount of time on food and beverage and wines because wine is kind of my favorite hobby, which is for most chefs the most hobby. So yeah, when I'm on the ship, it's usually never the same and always different.
Well, it's a tremendous operation. Again, I come from a cruising background, and the food and beverage manager seems to be the busiest person on board because they are looking after so much. It's not just the food, it's the service, it's the wine, and you got to make everybody happy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I would say it's the most beautiful madness you can think of if you like it. So there is no one who does that job because he needs a job. There's no one in this world saying, "Yeah, I can do it." Rather, you love it and then you do it, or you don't do it because you think they're all mad. And to be honest, they are all mad. So you need to be a little bit crazy, and you need to love this vibe of busyness to around you to to have an enjoyment on that.
And it is such a huge component, serving all three meals and snacks during the middle of the day. And some would argue it's the most important part of cruising. People go on cruises just for the food alone, the dining experience alone. So just talk about some of the trends over the years. And I would think it's an impossible task coming up with new ideas. It seems like what new ideas could there possibly be?
Yeah, I think the guests have helped us a lot over the years. When I started working on the ocean, it was all about all-inclusive products. They came on board, they eat as much as they can in a week, took on 5 to 10 pounds, and kind of be proud about it. Where now guests are a lot more caring, not just about the food, but also they are stopped doing the mainstream tours. They are stopped doing the mainstream location cruises. They are also stopped looking at, oh, how can I eat as much as possible and what is most expensive I put in my mouth sort of thing. Our ships are designed with only 200 guests or 100 guests. So we have a massive opportunity here to make a difference on the market. And that's really how we roll. We're not too worried about cooking a couple meals a day for 100 people or 200 people. We are really focused on getting inspired ourselves rather than the guest from outside. So we are running all day long outside around and chatting to fishermen, and the bridge is basically chasing all fishing boats you can imagine around us. ideally in the most remote locations, and then work with them. And then they give us the inspiration and they give us the ideas, how they cook it. And usually our first question is, what do you have from here? How do you usually cook it, and how would your mom cook it? And then that alone gives you a massive amount of ideas how you proceeded. And very important here is, and I think that's a mistake the industry did for a very long time.
Hmm.
We try to duplicate dishes. Like, we went to Rome and we made carbonara. Then we went
Hmm.
to Sicily, we made a traditional dish from there. And I think that's crap. You will never make it as good as they do it. You will never have this authenticity. But why not using these ingredients and do it your own style, but then
Hmm.
celebrating the ingredients? And I think that is one of the biggest successes Scenic had over the years on the ocean. And, that really echoes back from our guests that we just take so much care into our produce and our locations where we are, and celebrating small and local people and local companies to work with the small ones, which is obviously a lot more work, but it feels a lot better. It is really right. And we really fall in love with it. And as we sail along and the years go by, it gets easier because, we have more connections and we meet more people. And it's amazing. We actually know them by first name, and it feels like an
Hmm.
extended family.
Nice. Well, yeah, we should mention that Scenic Cruises is a luxury cruise line. They do have smaller ships, so you're not looking at the mass 5,000 meals a day kind of thing. So you can be a little bit more creative, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Cruise ships in general, they usually have the traditional main dining room and then a couple of specialty restaurants. In my world, that's so wrong. Why would you elevate one restaurant to the other? And why would you make one so big that no one can cater for it in an a la carte proper way? So our biggest restaurant has 100 seats, usually never more than 90 guests inside. And then the smallest has 8 seats. So we cook a la carte everywhere. And when I say
Hmm.
that, I mean it. We don't carry food on trays with cloches on it to guests. We sit guests down. We have an all-inclusive product. We will not try to sell you a bottle of wine. We just let you enjoy your evening. And with that, you take a lot of pressure away from waiters and sommeliers and let them do what they like most, which is hospitality. They don't
Hmm.
like to sell stuff. So having a full and real all-inclusive product, which gives us the opportunity to just enhance service like you would enjoy it in this little corner restaurant in Genoa where you eat the pasta, and the restaurant wasn't even like perfectly clean, but somehow it was the best dish you ever eat. This
Hmm.
feeling is real hospitality, and having a pure a la carte experience where we basically start cooking after you ordered. We are flexible. So if I get two halibut outside on the coast of Canada, that's basically enough to cater an entire restaurant. And that's how we want to see it, and that's how we envision it. So our entire focus is on a la carte, which obviously reduces food waste to a terrific amount because there's nothing more worse in the world than huge buffets, and all-inclusive
Hmm.
products. So
Hmm.
giving all of this back to the guest, you have a lot more time to care for the individual dish. You have a lot of time as a waiter and a sommelier and a chef to actually talk to the guest and celebrate with them the local experiences, which is not just the tour or the nice view from your balcony. It's the food too, and the cultures and the habits and the drinks. And I think that is really the future. And I think more and more guests, if not all by now, they're really going away from the big boys and they're really going away from the big ships because they want this experience. They really want to feel like where they are and not just looking out of the window and say, oh yeah, I've been there.
Hmm. True. Very true. I think so too. I think that's what makes a great dining experience. It's not just the food and the meal; it's the overall experience, the service, the ambiance, however you want to describe it, that makes the total experience, that makes the dining experience a 5 or 6 star rating. I guess, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I started traveling when I was 18. I left Germany and I worked in a couple of restaurants on every continent actually on this world. And back then I had this tradition that I wanted to go in a culinary school there, with like ideally a really old mama who does the same dish for the last 4 generations. And I was usually alone with a couple of people. If you try to get a cooking school, like a day pass, somewhere in the world, good luck. There's like thousands
Yeah.
by now, and it just shows that people care a lot more where they are and how they live and how they sustain, rather than say, okay, what is the most important to see here? What is the biggest castle? What is the biggest church? Let's go there real quick, and then I can say I've been there. I've been in this country. I have seen this. So now people care a lot more about the locals, the traditions, the habits, the
Hmm.
heritage, the food. And in my opinion, and of course I'm a chef, so that could be a false opinion, but in my opinion, there is nothing in this world who talks more about a country than their local food. So having the opportunity to try their dishes cooked by their people is just insane. And then when you come back on board and you see that we use their ingredients, so we respect their regions, we respect their people and the locals, rather than flying everything in big containers, big companies who make it a lot cheaper and a lot easier for us. But
Hmm.
it's not right. So trying to get local as much as we can and really get influenced and inspired by their people is just the best part of our trips, to be honest.
Hmm. Well, with your chef background, how much actual, can I use the word cooking, does the food and beverage manager get to do? Because there's a lot of things he also has to oversee, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when I got proposed the position as vice president for hotel operations for the Scenic Ocean Group, I kind of got scared, to be honest. I thought, they want to take away my chef jacket and take away the thing which makes the most love and inspiration in my life.
Hmm.
But then I understood that the big picture is so worth it. When I was a chef, I thought it's all about the food is the heart, it's the most important. Then I became director of food and beverage, and I realized, okay, the restaurant is also important, the wine is important, the beverage, the approach of the waiter, the body language. And now as VP, I get it. I see that the overall big picture is what really makes your cruise enjoyable. If you
Hmm.
come on board and the butler has this first touch who gives you this feeling that he actually cares about you and genuinely knows
Hmm.
you, and then you go to the tours, and the tours they make this very special moment for you, and you go to the bridge, which we have open bridge policy, so you actually can talk to the captain, and then the captain is on by chance, I don't know, French, and he says, "Oh, you need to try Lumiere," but he's a French captain, of course you trust him. And when you then go to the Lumiere and you get French wines, oysters, and you have the dinner, and the captain by any chance passes by because the ship is so small, recognizes you and said, "I told you," so you realize that he knows you. Then you get that the whole picture is, it's all about that. So I would
Hmm.
say it was worth it to take my chef jacket off to have that big picture. However, if there's opportunities where I can cook, I use them. We have
Nice.
several different culinary programs which running along. We have also Canadian guest chefs continuously coming back to our ships as we do cruises with them.
Hmm.
Michael Bonaccini was on a few times now. Now he comes back with his brother in August, which I'm super excited for. I also been in Top Chef twice in Germany and in the US for World All Stars. So I'm bringing a lot of these guys over for cruises where we then basically do culinary cruises, where I then have the best excuse in the world to put on my chef jacket and actually support and cook with them. So I try as much as I can, but clearly not as much as I want to, which is technically
Hmm.
16 hours every single day. So I need to find a middle way, if that makes sense.
Um, take me like the day in the life of a food and beverage manager. Like, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that the average cruiser doesn't even realize. I don't think, anyways. So, just give me some highlights, some of this, just a taste of what a food and beverage manager has to go through during the day.
I think that's a extremely difficult question. Firstly, our ships they sail from the Europe to the Caribbean to the Arctic to the Antarctic below New Zealand and Argentina. They
Hmm.
also go to Australia. They go to Asia. So it depends where the ships are. I
Hmm.
would say that defines the day most drastically. And then also we have the new builds, right? We have in Vietnam a shipyard where we're building ships. Then we have one in Croatia where we're building ships. So the days are defined basically by the seasons and by the mood of what is needed. So currently I couldn't be more happy because I'm heavily involved in culinary programs, selecting wine, which is so cool, but it's so much more. I'm involved in the design parts of new ships, the technical design of new ships, which is such a gain of knowledge over the last 2 years. I'm so grateful for. We
Hmm.
obviously work with markets from all around the world. We have, huge markets in Canada, in the US, in Europe, in Australia, in Asia. So you work with different cultures, different people. You learn a lot about the needs and interests and what is what one market likes more than the other. So this whole big picture is kind of like a roller coaster, but you kind of never know when the next somersault come or the next looping. So
Hmm.
it's it's so interesting. It exposes by so many people you work with and you need to trust with. So yeah, I'm very grateful that actually I do not have a routine because that's something I really don't like. Sometimes I work from home, sometimes I'm months and months on the ship, sometimes in the shipyard, and I'm working closely with the shipbuilding teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Then we
yeah.
have the river fleet as well, which I'm, sometimes in contact with to learn from them and their challenges. So I think the best part is really that there is no daily routine at all. It really depends if the ships are in a different location. You sometimes work in the middle of the night, sometimes you work very early in the morning. There's no day
Never
like
a
the other,
dull
and I
moment.
absolutely love it.
Never a dull moment, as they say. It's
Not at all,
interesting you
not at all.
mentioned the designs. I never even thought about this, but the design of the kitchen or the galley, that's really important, isn't it? Like, so you can be efficient.
Yeah, not just that. I mean, we quite a unique company where it's privately owned, and the owners himself are heavily involved in design and build. So I'm not just designing kitchens. I'm actually heavily involved into color codes, music, light shutters, and the restaurant. The art against the walls, what fits the food. So they let me be having a huge impact and a great opportunity to say things I feel to really make sure it doesn't look like a cruise ship. So we doing the entire interior, the entire design, the entire technical part ourselves as a company. So there's no companies in between who tell us what to do or what we can or what we can't
Hmm.
do, which we don't like at all. So we basically have it all inside the company and inside, the bonding is different and you have so
Hmm.
much more opportunities and knowledge to share. And for me, with 37 years, I'm heavily grateful to be part of this and to learn from so many people and their passions as much as I have passion for cooking. So it's been an absolute incredible journey over the last few years, and yeah, many ships to come.
When this is such a big part of your life, and can you turn it off? Like when you go to a restaurant, and can you just sort of sit and relax, or do you? Well, I want to go back in
No
the kitchen. I want to
chance.
see what's going on. I want
I'm being
to.
very honest. It's very rare that I go in, let's say, a good restaurant. For me, there's only three options left. Rather, I go in a Michelin restaurant and I celebrate it. Then
Hmm.
usually I visit friends mainly. Or I go in like very, very humble and rustic restaurants where I just celebrate the honesty of the dishes and the
Hmm.
service. Where I don't need to judge because there is nothing to judge in
Yeah.
in this kind of same level. But most of the time, believe it or not, I actually cook for myself. Ideally, for 10 to 20 people is like my favorite numbers. To cook for only one person is just not enough fun. It's not messy and loud enough. So, but I would say a regular average restaurant I'm trying to avoid as much as I can. Then I rather have some very nice food, but rustic in the
Hmm.
garden or on the street or like some stands or I cook for myself or yeah.
It must be exciting when people say we're going to Tom's house for dinner. Must be great for your guests.
Oh boy, I tell you, my parents raised me on a big winery, so I also do my own wine and we have a lot of space here. So especially during COVID, I think there were about 20 of my friends like literally said when COVID was over and they knew I need to go back to work and cannot cook for them every day anymore. So we made massive feasts and my mom is a chef and her mom was a chef. So cooking and wine in my family is something which is, carried over for many generations. So we take that very serious. There's no day
Hmm.
we can just eat a pasta dish. It's about 2 to 3 dishes. I never had a bought bread till I was 16. It was just normal for us to have our own vegetables, to make our own bread, and having lunches like other people would pay hundreds of dollars for, to be honest.
So, what do you hope your guests on board when they leave a scenic cruise? What do you hope they say? I'm assuming they have comments and things like that. What makes it a special cruise for you, for them?
Well, look, I always tell two things to my crew, right? We have by now almost 800 employees, and I always tell them, look, there is no perfect way of service. There is no perfect service steps when you go for dinner as a waiter or as a chef. It's about to read the guest and read their personality. There is guests there that love to be hugged and they love to have a warm service where the waiter basically stays at the table and talks about his whole life.
Hmm.
There's other guests there, they're a little bit more preserved. And you need to read that as a guest. And I think there's a lot of ships and a lot of hotels that do a really good job because they're trying to force their service style to it. Where I
Mm.
believe that there is no service style I can force to a guest. I need to adapt to the guest. So in my world, the perfect cruise and the most grateful guest is the one who basically hugs the crew when he leaves and has tears in his eyes. That means more to me than anything this person could ever write on a piece of
Mm-hmm.
paper. This
Mm-hmm.
means more than tipping one or two crew members, because if they're aware that there's such a huge machinery behind and so many crew you don't see, and they are the one who make the ones in the front shine, right? So it's the engine room, it's the kitchen, it's, everybody around them who makes them so successful. So if guests then come back and they remember the names, and when they're in the moment they step up the stairs and we remember their names, then I know that my crew and my team and my hotel director, they did well, because that shows real care, not just stubbornly learning the last name, or following the
Mm-hmm.
service steps accurately for every single guest. It doesn't work like that. Guests are from all over the world. If you would met me, I'm not really German at all. If you would think of a German guest versus me, that doesn't work at all. I'm so warm and hearted. I'm kind of the opposite. So there is no rule to a country or to a dimension of guest. You need to read them, and you only can
Mm-hmm.
read them if you are truly all inclusive, if you don't need to sell anything, if there comes no pressure on any numbers, and you can just focus on what makes us fall in love with the job, which is being hospitality, and not just, following service steps, learning names, and putting a lot of pressure on the table. So if they start doing this by feeling, by actually meaning it, then you succeed above, and then you really make these modern hospitality touch, which makes people come back, fall in love with us, and emotionally attaching to us. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the success these days.
Well, that's the scenic difference, I would guess. Tom Goethe is the vice president of food and beverage and hotel operations with Scenic Ocean Cruises. Scenic.ca is the website. Any last words, Tom?
No, I mean, thank you for inviting me. I have a very close heart to Canadians. I lived in Vancouver for a year, and I'm absolutely in love with your country, and especially, and that sounds so bad, but it's true, I love your mushroom culture. I mean, you have mushrooms, they are the best in the world, and blueberries. My God, there's not a single day I pass by Canada where I don't chase blueberries and mushrooms all day long. So nice for having me, and I honestly can't wait to come back to Canada and get your local produce on my table.
It was a pleasure chatting with you, Tom, and giving us some insight on the food and beverage part of cruising. Again, people can find where to do a scenic cruise on scenic.ca. Thanks again, Tom.
Okay, thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.
And that is our show for this week. If you have comments or questions, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a show idea, send that along as well. My email is randy@theinformedtraveler.org. And if you like what you heard, tell a friend. You can check out our website too at theinformedtraveler.org. In the meantime, thanks for listening, travel safe, and be an informed traveler.